Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Trekway with Mr. Gray and I. That was
Howdy.
that was a little cross between Live Long and Prosper and Mark and Mindy with the
And a
Nanu
proper
Nanu.
wave.
You done both.
Like,
If you
I
ever
could have done.
remember,
I could have done a. Is there such thing as a Vulcan Regal one? You can go like this and go.
or like a secret Vulcan handshake, like the people in the Masonic
Like,
Lodge will do. You know,
like this, or
like it under the leg and.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's already a riot, and I haven't even given you the title yet.
That's right.
Apologies for being a little bit late. I mean, not that we're really late. Just, I've been a bit under the weather, so we get it out as soon as we often can, this review. And today it's going to be another Lower Decks episode, Season 3, Episode 7, of Mathematically Perfect Redemption. Try saying that 10 times really quickly after several drinks. I dare you.
Yeah.
Right, okay, Gray. Safe to say this wasn't our favourite episode of the season. I think I liked it a little better than you did. You weren't a fan. You gave it a 3 out of 10, yeah?
Yeah. The thing that disappointed me was it coming off the high, and the first time I ever gave any episode of Lower Decks a 10, which was last week, to the first time I've ever given an episode this low a mark. It went from like one to the other, and I'm like, huh? I mean, to me, it just kind of reeked of total filler episode. They just decided, oh, let's try this. It could either do really well or not. For me, it's more on the not side.
I
So.
think that's exactly what's happened. It's a filler episode because none of the, I mean, barely any of the crew, whether it be the senior crew or the ensigns, were in this episode. So it is a filler episode, definitely. And there's some examples of filler episodes being good, Gray. But more often than not, they're average to crap because they're there for a reason. Couple of episodes, one or two episodes of Star Trek of all time have been great. Trouble with Tribbles, there's a perfect filler episode that was fantastic, so it can be done, but this time not so much. And we'll probably get into why just now, so we'll kick off. I've forgotten about this little character, Gray. So Peanut Hamper, the little sentient AI thing, it was like do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like a multi-tool for Star Trek.
Okay.
Because it could do anything, couldn't it? So that this little thing called
if you think about it, although it wasn't nearly as good, it was almost like R2D2, but it flew around.
Oh, that's controversial.
But remember, R2D2 is much better than this thing was. So
yes, but then one franchise is much better than the other. So tomato.
Well, different.
Gray
One's
likes
fantasy,
Gray
one's
likes
sci-fi.
Star Wars as well, by the way, right? Which some people might hate because if you're a diehard Trekkie, you're not allowed to like both. But that's another topic and another conversation, I think. Anyway, so Peanut Hamper, who was in season 1 or 2, I can't remember which. I've forgotten about her.
It was this season.
Was it earlier on this season? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. It was either this season or it was near the end of the prior. But I remember it wasn't long ago because I remember the scene that they recapped at the beginning, and I was kind of shocked when they told Peanut Hamper to go help, and they're like, "Nah, it's okay. I'm out of here." And which is part of what I don't like because first of all, it was kind of out of character, kind of.
What, for Peanut Hamper or Lower Decks? Or?
No, yeah, the Peanut Hamper character period was weird to begin with. Second, I can't stand. I have nothing against the actor, but I can't stand that voice. It's highly irritating.
It's nippy,
right. And then that just didn't even make sense. Like I'm a Starfleet officer, whatever you want to call it, and yet I'm gonna act like this. And I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. You're just gonna like rebel immediately, even though you're already an officer. You got the emblem and everything, and they just act completely different. I mean, I can't accept that. That's just, it makes no sense.
There's got to be a limit to who can be in Starfleet. I know they say everyone's welcome, but you've got AI to a whole new level now where it's a flying Swiss Army knife that is now allowed in. I mean, Data's one thing, but Peanut Hamper's pretty cool. We won't put it off any longer. We'll dive in, and any things you didn't like about the episode, like when we go along, Gray, please interject and let us know, because there'll
Uh-oh.
be several of them. Yeah, this may be a lot longer than we thought. This episode, we thought it'd be quicker. But yeah, so we kick off. Gray was mentioned before. She's asked by the crew to be a virus bomb to save the day. That was them rehashing what happened before. She refuses. She beams herself into space, and things are looking grim for the Cerritos. But if you recall, the Titan comes and saves the day. So yes, that was season 2 now, Gray. I come to think of it, because the Titan. Oh, what was the Titan at the start of this? No, season 2.
Yeah.
So so I like how they went back to a previous scene and showed you what really happened, but we saw the full thing in detail of what happened with Peanut Hamper. So selfish little Starfleet officer beams herself into space so that she doesn't have to put up with any of the crap, and thinks that everyone's going to get blown up. But no, you have the lovely Titan with awesome Captain Riker coming to save the day yet again.
And by the way, it's the Titan, no bloody A, B, C, or D. It was just the Titan.
Oh, the bloody A is coming, Gray. The bloody A is coming
later. Yeah,
and that's a whole new conversation, because I prefer the original Titan. Just saying, nothing wrong with the A, but I'm just original.
Yeah,
Something about the original is great. I think we may have done an episode about that. Hint.
We
1 or 2 episodes
talked
ago.
about we talked about the ship, so we didn't really get into talking the Titan too much, but we'll get into that. We diverge, but what the heck, right?
Oh, yeah, damn right. If we didn't diverge, it would be a 10-minute review episode, and it'd be like everyone else's episode. Everyone else seems to do really quick reviews, and that's fine.
Well,
but we're not them.
I guess to make a comment about Peanut Hamper, so she's floating in space watching the Cerritos more or less get saved by the Titan and Riker and whatever.
No bloody
And but she's also making these snide remarks going as the Cerritos was getting almost blown up or attacked, and I made the right choice. See, she's like laughing, and then the Titan comes in and saves the Titan, and and she's always talking about herself and being very, very selfish and with ulterior motives, I guess, those kind of things. So you could see the character was already not the sweetest character in the bush.
She's a small sweary word coming along, people, for the kids in the car, hands over the ears. She's a little bit of a bitch. She really is. She's a bit of a stuck up arse, and no one likes that. But I mean, the sassiness comes into it later on. So, so she's talking away to herself. This gets elaborated a little bit more in a moment, because she is now stuck. The Titan does not save her. It disappears, it warps away, and she's screwed. She's there by herself, and she starts talking to herself while she's trying to get enough lithium together, like the scrapes of the lithium from all these blown up ships in the area she's in. It's like a bit of a shipyard, graveyard or something from the battle with the Packleads.
Right.
She's trying to get every bit of dilithium she can. But I've noted down here, Gray, I had Castaway vibes here, because she has her own version of Wilson. You notice that?
Yeah. Somebody to talk to that wasn't really real.
A senile robot, really? Is that even possible? Go senile. But the scavengers, I can't remember the actual race's name in this here. I'm just calling them the scavengers, unless you remember, Gray.
Now wasn't the collectors, was it?
No,
the collectors are a different group. This is scavengers.
This
yeah,
is
they just go around
scavengers.
picking up parts from everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. They turn up and they do their thing. They scavenge, and they're about to suck up Peanut Hamper into their little collection, into the ship. But she I think her friend's called Sophie.
Sophie, right? She stuffs this imaginary friend into the hole so that she doesn't get sucked up. I was like, wow, you're nice.
So this is already our downfall of how much of a little she is already. But this it gets worse. Gray was discussing at the start of the episode why he maybe didn't like this episode so much, and there's more examples of this coming along. Part of because of why she's so self-centered. how she's so self-centered as part of the dislike of the episode. Safe to say. But yeah,
Plus the voice just grates on you.
Oh, the
after a
voice as
while.
well.
Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know the fingers on the chalkboard thing? That was an old saying. How they
It's supposed to be like a female computer type voice, I guess. So.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Let's put it this way: after about 10 minutes of listening to that voice, I'm ready to shoot it. That's about like.
Gray's doing target practice with the phasers, just because. But anyway, right. So she manages to escape. She gets all the lithium together on this little poor man's single nacelle, gets away, and then ends up. I don't know. She must have crashed, landed on this other planet. You don't really see it. Yeah. She wakes up on a random planet surrounded by bird people. That's the best way I can describe it. Absolutely cuckoo bonkers, pun intended, this episode.
Yep. They all looked like, I guess, like parrots or something.
No, but not like hawks or something. That's what I thought.
Yeah, hawks. Yeah.
I mean, bird people for sure.
Actually, there's a throwback here because when I saw the bird people, I was going like, where have I seen bird people in Star Trek before? And then it just dawned on me, the animated series in the
Counselor.
70s. The Star Trek, the original series animated version, had a planet that they went to. I can't remember the name of the. Actually, they named it the alien species in this episode of who they were, and this alien species were birds, going back to like 1973 or whatever when this show aired. However, this race of birds was not that race of birds, but Peanut Hamper somewhere mentions that race as an Easter egg going back to the animated series in the 70s. I just can't remember the name. Aurelians or Aurelians, something like that.
The original bird people.
The original bird people, yeah.
Original bird people. There's got to be a limit to how many animal species we have of just
I mean, again,
in Star Trek.
Since it's animated, this is the reason why, again, back in the 70s, and we've talked about this before, they have
canon, Gray. So
they have the leeway to go ahead and do what they want because they couldn't do it in live action. It's much easier to do in animated. Can you imagine the cost of making a CGI bird person race? I mean, it would cost too much. It's already costing whatever it is to do the show. So now in animation, they can just do whatever they want. If you really think about it, it's not too far fetched. A lot of people have said in our own history here on our planet that if the dinosaurs weren't destroyed, right, and supposedly they existed for another millions and millions and millions of years,
what a T-Rex would be in the helm of the Enterprise. It can't. It's little tiny arms. Like it's just not.
Yeah, it would be kind of rough, but they might be a hell of a lot smarter if they had made it.
Right?
Oh
well,
you don't know.
That's a cracking point, Gray. Like diversion.
So
101.
you and I could all be smart dinosaurs talking right now.
Remember the Voyager episode with the dinosaur people? They were miles advanced over Voyager.
Yeah.
Remember those people there, and they thought they came from human beings, and it turned out they did. And I was like, "What the? What? They were actually distant relatives."
Well, there's been a lot of science. Well, I'm not gonna say a lot, but enough science fiction novels that have been written on the premise that Earth went into space and basically seeded the galaxy, and from that point forward, all these different types of humans and animals evolved all on their own, but they all came from Earth.
Is that not Battlestar Galactica? What?
I mean, they played with that some too, yes, but it was really more, talking about just how we were the only planet, and then through millions of years, we seeded the galaxy, and they all became whatever they became.
Of course, yeah. There's some logic to it.
Yeah.
Anywho, what happens when you diverse? We do it well.
I know. Well, we have to.
So the bird, we do have to. Otherwise, it would be a really quick episode. So Peanut Hamper does wake up surrounded by the bird people, as we're calling them. She realizes she won't be rescued, as they aren't part of the Federation. A little bit of cursing and swearing from Peanut Hamper. She uses the F word here, which I was a burst out laughing moment because again, when you use it right, as in this series, like we've discussed, it's funny and it works, and it worked with her. So you could just imagine if you or I were in her shoes there, Gray, we would have said the exact same thing and went,
Of
fuck
course.
it. We're stuck. It's the amusing thing is she's getting carted about the place by the elder bird person,
Right.
and apparently she swears Peanut Hamper and the chief bird, as I'm calling him, the tribe leader. He says like, what does that mean? And she's like, it's just something we spacefaring people see when stuck on a backwater planet with no culture.
And then she repeats it back to him again. That's what was that was kind of funny. He goes, "Oh yeah, you're effing whatever,
Yeah,
or f that or whatever."
I
So
found that.
was
But
funny.
she's already ruining their culture right off the bat. She's only been there 2 minutes. Gray, I get major Ewok vibes from Star Wars here with the tree village stuff here. Did you get any of these vibes at all? Or was it just
Yeah,
me?
yeah, pretty much. But I guess they are birds, so
But Ewoks are
they
not
want.
birds.
No, I understand, but being in the trees, right? This is what birds do.
Uh,
Oh, they're just big bird nests in these trees or whatever.
oh yeah, they are actually.
And the whole city is built on trees. I mean, just giant trees. So.
This is the next. Evolution, I think, of bird people in the future.
I was kind of waiting for like some bird seed to fall down. They all just run over there and start pecking it. But
No, they've moved
I
on.
guess
They've moved on.
I guess that didn't.
Someone delivers the bird seed now for them. Do you want to tell? Do you want to tell the viewers what happened next, Gray? The little amusing thing with the ripped Birdman.
Oh, you mean as far as the copying what she was doing, or
no,
well,
no. She
the candy thing.
Yeah, the candy thing.
Yeah, I thought
she's
that was
pulling
kind
a
of fun.
trick.
There was kids, I guess, bird kids, and
Bird
they're running around
kids.
going like, "Oh, what's this? What's
Chicks.
this?" You know, and then right, chicks, whatever you want to call them, and not that kind of chicks. And so he decided to, what the heck? I'll Peanut Hamper says, I'll just, use the replicator that she has apparently because she has one. She has everything, right? I don't know how, but anyway, so she she makes a piece of candy, and of course the kids go nuts and they want more of it and stuff, and the chief bird man who looks obviously very healthy as far as being fit.
He's ripped, man.
You can, I know it's kind of weird. It's like it's a ripped bird. Like, okay. In any case, he just said, when the candy was being given out and stuff like that, the Peanut Hamper says, "Keep it in your pants, sister." And I'm like, oh god,
yeah,
kidding me?
But because Chief Birdman's son, he's obviously enamored by
Junior Birdman.
Junior Birdman. Let's call him Junior Birdman.
Chief.
I like our nicknames for these guys. He's basically fascinated by Peanut Hamper, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, at first he's fascinated for the wrong reasons. Because he's not real fond of her or her antics, I guess. Whatever.
No, but the son certainly is interested. Well, no, at first, no, sorry. The son isn't.
At first he wasn't, because the father forced him into giving Peanut Hamper the tour, and he's like, yeah, right. Why do I have to do this?
And I think the line "keep it in your pants, sister" comes because it seems to be that there's a little bit of jealousy from Junior Birdman's girlfriend, other half. I don't know. Obviously, they were a thing because showing off, keep it in your pants. I found that amusing. Another funny line from Peanut Hamper.
It would have been funny if she said, "Keep it under your fur or under your feathers." That would have been more.
Yeah, more accurate, wouldn't have? It would have been a lot more accurate, actually. So we are, as Peanut says, stranded with a bunch of hillbilly birds as she's playing ball games with herself. Literally, she's imagine one of
Think about what you just said. A bunch of hillbilly birds, and she's playing ball games with herself.
Well, that sums it up perfectly. That's what she said.
It sounds great. I like that.
Hillbilly birds. The thing is, right, this what she's doing is, so Peanut Hamper, for people that haven't seen her, she literally looks like a little tiny mini flying robot, and she's got this nozzle thing at the front which can do everything. It replicates stuff, it shoots beams out, it throws balls out. She's throwing balls out against the wall and she's not even catching them. That's how bored she is. And that's another thing, Gray. How the amount of power she seems to have for such a small unit. I mean, I know it's Star Trek,
Yeah,
in the future, but how the hell does this chick ever recharge, man? Come on.
I was gonna say she's.
They don't have
replicating all this
electricity.
stuff.
The bird people.
I mean, they made it way too simple. She just replicates candy and balls, and she does a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, I don't know.
That takes energy, a good bit of energy to replicate stuff.
Sure.
The more
She probably came from the bird seed, maybe. I don't know.
So Peanut Hamper's playing ball with herself, stuck with the hillbilly birds. The chief's son takes Peanut for a walk, right? I'm calling her Peanut now. And all of a sudden, this bloody flying snake, swear to God, flies. I think they were on acid, the writers for this episode, man. LSD or whatever it's called. I think they were on something, because this is bonkers. That shit.
Do you know what's funny about that scene though? I don't know if you watched the sci-fi series Raised by Wolves.
Yeah, of course you.
I
think it was you that told me about it.
Yeah, it was only on for 2 years, unfortunately.
One of the best things I've ever seen.
Axed it. That's another whole story. But as soon as I looked at it, I'm going like, there it is.
It's shit.
Raised by Wolves.
Yeah, that's probably where they got it from, actually, Gray.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm kind of curious whether that was an influence, because that's what it was.
Yeah. Right, if you guys have never seen Raised by Wolves, only 2 seasons. Sorry to ruin that early, but it's one of the best sci-fi shows I've ever seen. It goes back to old school sci-fi, religion, beliefs, what it is to be out in the universe, blah, blah, blah. Really, really good.
HBO Max, if you have that wherever you
are. I have no clue where you get it from in the UK.
Yeah, they still have the seasons on there, even though they're not making any new ones, I believe.
Sky in the UK, because they have the HBO Max stuff. Right, yeah. So the chief's son takes Peanut for a walk, but this is a thing. This flying snake from Raised for Wolves goes to take out Peanut Hamper and the chief's son, but the chief's son saves her for the sky snake, and because he's ripped and he's hardcore and all that stuff. That's what he does, you know. I did notice here that. I noted down here that all the animals have wings, including the goat, which is flying as it's being milked. That was disturbing.
That was very weird.
What's that got to do with Star Trek, man?
Nothing
That's
at all.
Something that Beavis and Butthead or a Rick and Morty episode, you know?
Yeah. I think they were playing a little too much with the comedy, and it didn't work. In other words, it was more of a sight gag, but unfortunately, it was a sight gag that just didn't work. It was kind of dumb.
It did make sense. I get the bird people fly, but the animals shouldn't. The rest of the animals shouldn't.
Like, I would assume. But then again, the snake flies, so...
Right, they didn't Raise for Wolves, so I'll let it away with that one, you know. So, anyhow, right, so the sky snake, turns out, has bitten the chief, though. The head honcho, and it looks like he's dying.
Say where he bit him though.
Didn't know. I mean, if it's Lord Dex, they should have just added it was somewhere inappropriate, because that's what Lord Dex does.
That would have, yes.
Yeah, bitten in the PP, and he's going to die. In fact, he's a bird, so he doesn't have a PP, does it? Anyway, I digress.
Under the feathers, but anyway.
So I mean, we're treating this silly and daft because it really is.
It's called stretching in the industry. We're just stretching.
Massively, Matt. Massively. So it looks like the chief's going to die. Game over. He took down the snake at the same time. Yeah. So, you know, job's a good one.
Now, something interesting about this. When we saw the snake flying in the sky, in perspective, right? The snake that was flying in the sky was a hell of a lot bigger than the one that bit him. And I'm sitting there going like, seriously? Because I'm looking at the snake that bit him, and not that it was small, but it was a lot bigger when it was flying in the sky.
Great. How many times has Star Trek got sizes completely bloody wrong? Usually in starships and stuff like that all the time, man. It's frustrating. Yeah, it's a good point, though. The one on the ground looks a lot smaller. Maybe just perspective or whatnot, or angles.
Maybe it was a baby flying snake. That could be possible.
Hey, you're reading far too much into this, but you could be right. Yeah.
So now, wait a minute. If snakes lay eggs and the snake is flying and the snake needs to lay its eggs, what does it do? Lay them and it just hits the ground?
No, it has to land.
Because they're flying.
It has to land, just like a bird.
I just really want to know these things. No, I don't. But go
I
ahead.
think the episode is actually fried Gray's brain. Actually, I think this is what's
I
happening.
think so.
It's
funny though.
Looks like the Chief's going to die, and it's all dramatic, and my son and all this. And Peanut Hamper's like, "Yeah, no worries. Hang on, I'll come over. Anti-venom, boom, done." Another thing she can do, she's a walking bloody medical tricorder as well.
Yeah, of course, yes. There was a scene too. I don't know if it was that scene or soon after that where she's carrying a medical bag.
Yeah,
Just a medical bag connected to her, and I'm like,
this is why I'm saying she's a Swiss Army knife, mate.
Yeah.
Starfleet officer. No, she's a Swiss Army knife. I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry when the scene where she gave the anti-venom to the father, and the father all of a sudden is feeling much better. I started laughing, not because it was funny, because I immediately thought of Monty Python. Because Monty Python, I'm feeling much better. No, you're not. You're dead. You're dead.
They're all dead, Dave. All dead.
They're all dead, Dave. Yeah, Red Dwarf, Monty
Red
Python.
Dwarf,
I'm like laughing. I'm going like, wow, this is not the way it was intended, but it is pretty funny.
Don't be surprised if these guys are inspired by shows like that, Gray. To be fair, I really wouldn't be surprised.
To be fair, I couldn't see any inspiration coming out of this show. I really can't. Not this one.
No, not from this one. They got inspiration from other shows.
Exactly.
No one's going to look at that episode and go, "I'm inspired."
However, it didn't really help with the writing on this particular episode. So.
It was a major filler episode. It really was. There's no denying that.
Anyway, so Chief's all better now.
Chief's all better now. Or Chief's all better. That's the main thing. Peanut Hamper's still showing off all her new skills and what she can do.
Not done yet.
She's not done. What happens next, Gray? Tell the people.
So the Chief's son brings him into a room where apparently it's an incubator room where there's a whole bunch of these eggs that obviously would have new hatchlings or whatever. And he said that things haven't been good lately, or the weather's been bad, or whatever, and the eggs don't hatch. And of course, Peanut Hamper, being amazing,
hold my beer,
simply just uses a heat ray to help incubate the eggs. And of course, it only took about 3 seconds, and then they all hatched at the same time.
Oh,
amazing!
God. Come on, there's science
and you have all
in
these
there.
chicks running around.
That wasn't science fiction. That was fantasy. Right there. That was
actually. Well, the way I looked at this episode was you never really look at Lower Decks as being a cartoon. You look at it as being as an animated show. And it treats itself like that, and it even treats itself serious a little bit here and there once in a while, and even though it is mostly a comedy. But this episode, to me, seemed like a typical cartoon. It should have been a Warner Brothers cartoon with all the funny music and Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck being in it. It would have been better if it was. And that's the way I looked at the episode. I couldn't help it. I'm sitting there going like, what is a cartoon, a funny cartoon stuck in the middle of this season? What is this all about?
It's a bit random. It was completely out of place and context, to be fair, Gray. So inaccuracies there all around. The eggs hatch in a few seconds, which would have probably cooked them in real life if you were using heat that intense to make them hatch that early.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but you had mentioned 36 eggs. Was it really 36?
Yeah, all 36.
That's even stupider.
Whereas normally you wouldn't get as many. That's what he said. Not as many would hatch normally. Things are going on. It's not been good recently. We'd never got all 36 or whatever to hatch. You went, hold my beer, boom, heat vision. He's Superman in a tin can. Heat vision heats them all up, and they all hatch. But this starts bringing the Chief's son and Peanut Hamper closer together, and he wants to shore something. So they look to be getting cozy while they're flying together, because she can now fly now. She's recharged and whatnot. They're flying together, and because they're getting close and intimate, he starts. She says, "Sing for me," and he does sing, but it's the kind of, without going too loud, it's the caca, but he does it so loud that it's a racket. She goes, Jesus Christ, you scared the shit out of me. Never do that again, Chief's son. So I got a little low from that.
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny. It was almost like again, it's a cartoon, but there was a cartoon called Chicken Man years ago, and that's what he sounded like.
Oh, what that rings a bell, Gray.
Yeah, and that's what he sounded like. And I was just like, I'm like, oh boy, this is like.
It gets worse,
Now,
man. It gets more worse and cringy than funny as well.
it gets worse.
So it turns out they're talking about their past and stuff. Excuse me. They're talking about their past and what they've done. And Chief Son's wanting to know a little bit more about Peanut Hamper. And apparently, you know, she never wanted to be in Starfleet. Original plan was to be a Dabo girl. So what the
So I don't know, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I said, so wait a minute. You went through all this stuff and hearing how you complain all the time, and you're a very irritating character. You still made it to be a Starfleet officer, which, like we had mentioned before, that means any numbnut can become a Starfleet officer, which
There's
makes
got
no
to be
sense.
limits, man. Yeah.
What? Yeah, I mean, come on.
She
You
should have
gotta
been
be
a
kidding me.
Dabo girl. She has the right personality to be a Dabo girl, I think. No disrespect
No,
to
I
Dabo
think-
girls.
Look at it this way: imagine if she was a Quark spar. I think even Quark would be irritated and push her out into deep space somewhere,
Great.
around an airlock.
Do you want to tell the people what happens next after the revelations of Dabo girlness? Things get a bit freaky and steamy, and I had a massive
Right.
lull at this.
Do I have to?
Yes, and you have to say the bit as well.
Oh man. Okay, so they start to get like intimate, and I'm sitting there listening to this, going like, no, don't go here. Please don't go here.
I can't watch.
This episode's already going down the drain. You can't do this. And of course, they get intimate, and the chief's son and Peanut are getting all freaky and stuff, and they're talking about longing for the touch of your nose.
Your nozzle.
Their nozzle, yeah, and they're going like their parts are complicated. Yeah, okay. And as he sticks his tongue in her face, and how they just have to wing it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is too much.
Then you
I
just
can't
see
handle this
silhouettes and stuff, and you don't actually thankfully
Yeah.
see anything more. But I'm
Oh,
just like,
God.
what? Why? You could have just mentioned a couple of funny lines and then left it at
Yep.
that. And no,
Left it, yeah.
because he puts
They had to just go on and on and on.
he
Like,
puts his wings. Chief's son puts his wings over him so he can't see anything. And
yes,
it
and you
just-
notice that it was in the shape of a heart. Isn't that cute?
oh, for
It was just, man, bad after bad after bad. I'm just like, God, please end the show.
hopefully, don't mean the podcast.
No,
like,
not yeah, no, yeah.
It's not our fault.
Believe
The
me,
episode was bad.
What we're doing right now in this video is 10 times better than the episode.
Oh yeah, we're
So,
trying to make it far more interesting than it was. Trust me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after the freakiness is over and done with, the chief's son even shows Peanut Hamper their history. Now this blew my mind a little bit here, Gray, but it makes sense what we're talking about before.
Mhm.
Turns out the bird people were spacefaring civilization. Makes total sense now after we see some of the ships that they used to use actually situated underground under other tree houses. These ancient ships that have been sitting there for ages. And for whatever reason, I don't know why this does it and turns them on, but they then get freaky again. I'm like,
Yeah.
get a room, man. Come on.
Yeah, why do we need to see it again? It was ridiculous the first time. You're
I
gonna do it.
was just going to say, Gray, right? Can she replicate her own mechanical? The word I can't say.
I assume since she has a replicator, she could replicate a lot of things. All the interesting toys.
Lubricant, our own robot lubricant. Oil, I mean, yeah. You've got to.
You set it on fire, that would hurt.
Oh man, I just remember what's it called? Team America, where the puppets, because they're made out of wood, start having sex with each other and they catch on fire. Imagine something like anyway, random. So these two are getting on yet again after the revelations of their history. I found that little part slightly more serious and interesting, Gray, for once, that they used to be spacefaring.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. That was the only part of the series that
cool.
I actually kind of liked. And it was a decent explanation where they were saying like, well, we were, spacefaring people and we just decided to heck with it and gave it up. Just wanted to go back to the simple life. And okay, that was cool. That makes sense. And that was the only thing that made sense in that whole episode was that. And then now it just continues to spiral down again from here.
Yeah, we've seen that, not necessarily in Star Trek, but Star Trek as well. We've seen that in a lot of sci-fi shows in the past, actually. There's been examples where civilizations just decided to start again. Battlestar Galactica is another example of that. It's actually, they're usually well done. But yeah, downhill more. No, I think the freakiness. I think they finished the freakiness for now, thankfully. But yeah, so we move on. Oh no, actually no, I take that back, Gray, because I just remember what the next bloody scene was. The chief's son and Peanut Hamper get married, and I've just put what WTF in brackets. They're getting married. I'm surprised they didn't try and have kids.
I was waiting to see what they would look like. A bunch of machines with feathers on them.
The marriage gets interrupted though. I don't know if they actually went through.
Yeah, it wasn't really. Well, thank God it got interrupted. You imagine what comes after that?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and
we don't want it. We've already seen enough of that.
So yeah, it does get interrupted. Thankfully, the scavengers turn up again. I thought they were turning up for Peanut Hamper, and that's what she thought. But it turns out it's the ancient ships they really want. And at this stage, without spoiling it for the end of the episode, maybe they scanned ahead and detected Peanut Hamper, or they detected the ships, and they're scavengers, so they want a piece. Turns out to be a little bit different in a moment. And everything's going to shit. They start firing down on wrecking the tree houses. They're going up in flames. What we're going to do? And she feels a bit bad about it, Peanut Hamper, so she saves the day by messaging the Cerritos. She turns on her homing beacon, which the Cerritos picks up, and they warp in to save the day. Now, we move on to when the Cerritos actually arrived. She actually, Peanut Hamper, if I remember rightly, at this stage, the Cerritos can't do a lot of damage because there's a bit of a ding dong between the ships. It's getting its ass handed to it a little bit, and Peanut Hamper.
The scavengers that came to take the ships away because they think it's all junk.
Yep.
They end up getting in one of the ships, and apparently the ship is actually working. And so they go into space, and then they start attacking the Cerritos, which again is stupid because the Cerritos has gone through already some stuff where it's gotten beaten up, and now this ship comes out of nowhere, and of course, since it's
ruins the paintwork again.
They don't have the shields that can stop because they don't understand what they're trying to protect against.
Yeah.
And the Cerritos is getting completely like half destroyed, and I'm like, this is not making any sense. And the other thing is that they're so big on scavenging, they're not so big on building or operating ships other than their own. That's what they do.
Yeah, this is true.
So now all of a sudden they just jump on a ship and they're acting like they're Klingons or something all of a sudden. And I'm going like, this isn't really making sense to their character.
Funny you mentioned Klingons, Gray, because I swear the scavenger ship captain sounded much like the actor that plays Gowron. I wouldn't be surprised if it was him because they tend to do in Star Trek, as we know, some famous actors in Star Trek will voice more than one part, and it did sound like him. No, Peanut Hamper saves the day again. She uses one of the scavenger ships to literally crash into the commandeered ancient ship that they've taken, and that's what I mentioned here. Is that Gowron here? Because it sounded very much like him. And then I go on to mention Gowron. Lots of laughs. Steals one of the ancient ships. It starts firing upon the village. Peanut. Turns out there's a revelation here, Gray, which I found very sneaky and actually makes sense to the character of Peanut Hamper being a selfish little bitch. And that was, it turns out she made a deal with the scavengers to come and get the ancient ships and use them for scrap as long as they left Peanut Hamper alone. And then Chief Son's like, oh my God, why did you do this? Oh, I can't believe it. And what's the line she comes away with, Gray, after this? Grow an effing beak. Grow an effing beak. Instead of balls or something, grow an effing beak.
Instead of blank, but instead grow a effing beak.
This is her back to her selfish self. We thought she'd actually mellowed and chilled. No, she's really not. Which is a shame.
I was a little surprised at that. Maybe not totally, but I'm sitting there because the episode wasn't thrilling me anyway. I was sitting there going like, okay, maybe she's good now, or for some strange reason. But no, we find out she's not only is she bad, she's really bad.
Oh yeah,
and
over the top.
Basically, was right, and it was stuff that just didn't make sense the character that she was just going to annihilate a whole race. I'm like, where is this? I'm going like, where is this all coming from? You mean they didn't notice anything in the academy that there's something interesting or dumb
Starfleet
wrong
Academy's
about her?
failed. They have failed this time.
They failed a lot,
Peanut
apparently.
Hamper. This the I like to call it the flagship of the ancient ship is actually doing a number on the Cerritos, firing through its shields because, like Gray mentioned before, yes, it's an ancient ship, but that means nothing. Technology back then at that time could have been great. You don't know. It's absolutely smashing up the Cerritos, and we're a bit miffed with that because the Cerritos has had enough of a bashing. Give it a break for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I did note here, Gray, that it didn't help that the Cerritos kept bloody missing. I'm like, I'm sorry, do you not have a thing called lock-on phasers? Like, do you notice that the shots kept missing? All the
and the ship wasn't really doing anything fancy. It was just kind of like floating around, and they can't even hit it. And I'm going like, nice, you aimed real well.
I mean, Shax, come on, Shax, we expect better from you, mate. Come on. Notice that the bird counselor's back, the parrot. I noticed that he was sitting there, the counsellor. He's sitting in Diana Troy's seat. And then lastly, kind of summing up this interesting episode, shall I say, the chief's son saves the day by taking command of one of the ships to take out the actual threat. Makes sense. He would possibly know how they actually operate. And Captain Carol Freeman, because she's beamed down at this stage, is giving her, the treatment. Peanut Hamper, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. Peanut Hamper is getting mouthy like a bit of a teenager, and she threatens to call the Borg. She went, I should have just called the Borg. I'm going to actually
I'm going to do it right now and start transmitting.
Yeah, and she does, but every time she opens a little satellite dish thing to transmit, the guys just keep back in, pushing it back in a couple of times. Like, no, you shall not do that. Threatened to call the Borg. That's amusing. So the end of this though was slightly interesting, Greg, because I forgot about this. She gets locked up beside Agamus, voiced by the brilliant Jeffrey Combs, which was season 1 or 2. Season 2, the mad AI that was on the Cerritos. Remember that? And they start planning their escape with the evil laugh and all that. So did you remember Agamus? Remember? I think it was season 2.
Yeah,
maybe.
there was an episode when they finally did defeat Agamus, and they brought him to this same cell, if you want to call it that Peanut was in. And of course, in this cell is all the other AI entities. There's about 25.
Some of them were dumb though.
Yeah, some were stupid and some who knows. And they're all in this one room, and so now she's part of the collection of all these things. And even though they're making plans, you kind of look at it and you're going like, well, two things I got out of this one. Well, first thing I'm thinking is, does that mean they're going to be back? And I'm sitting there going, if they're going to be back, that's another episode I'm skipping. First of all,
Agamus was brilliant though.
Agamus was brilliant. Yeah, that's fine. But if Peanut Hamper's involved, what
was Agamus again? What type of robot was he again? I'm trying to remember.
I remember seeing the episode, but I don't recall the whole. I don't know if
he was a replicator or he was a actual computer unit on a ship.
But we don't know if that's really the case, because as the shot pulls out, you see all the other ones just kind of going like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. They're all laughing. They're all sitting there going on like on their own plans to break out, which of course they never do. So who knows?
Who knows?
Agamus I wouldn't mind seeing again because it was interesting, but I don't want to see
the two of them together. Could be interesting though. It may work. It may not. But
what Agamus should do is drop her into a compactor so she can get crushed, and then
maybe that's what he'll do. You don't know.
Yeah, and then they go on from there.
Believe it or not, Gray, we've came to the end. You'll be glad to know, possibly. And I'm
not glad it's ending. I'm just glad that we're not talking about the episode anymore.
We have managed to go the kind of normal time we normally do for any episode for this, believe it or not, and I thought it'd be quicker as well. But that's a good thing. That's professionals at work there, yeah. That's like to think. So yeah, we will. Safe to say, Gray said it was a 3 out of 10. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Middle of the road. There were some funny scenes in it.
Was it because of those scenes where they
get freaky? No, it was more hard swearing and stuff, and a couple of funny moments where I wasn't so funny when they were getting on. I just was disturbed more than anything else. But anyhow, right, we will wrap up. Thank you for coming along, Mr. Gray. As usual, people, if you like the longer style format where we just talk nonsense about the episode, and please always give it a like and a thumbs up, and always put comments below to let us know what you like or don't like, because we're not perfect at this and we will welcome suggestions any day. But you can get this as well on podcast platform, and whatever podcast platform you listen to. We're all on there. We're on Twitter at The Trekway. And as well, if you like entertainment news in general, which does include a bit of Star Trek, I won't lie, it's heavily aimed around more to Marvel,
else.
DC, Star
Fantasy,
Wars, Star
science
Trek,
fiction,
the kind of geeky
superheroes.
stuff. Not just that, but a good chunk of it. Then we, along with Mr. Gray, we join him for his pod on Gray's Green Room, which is available on all popular podcast platforms as well. So sub to that if you like that. And apart from that, I think we're all done for today. So thanks again, Gray. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Again, for the next episode.
Long and prosper.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.